Hello and welcome to CZenStar, This Week in Star Citizen, ending May 2nd, 2015. I am Citizen Ed of CZenStarNews.com, where we put the citizen first. This week's community CZenStar focus is on our friends at thebase.sc. They've been broadcasting a Star Citizen-focused internet radio station 24/7, 365 for well over a year now. Recently leveraged their music license with SOCAN into a deal with Twitch TV to do a 24-hour stream there too. With music, giveaways, broadcasts of podcasts, big props to Rico, Relum, and the crew over there. They've also had me on a few times and rebroadcast this show regularly as part of their rotation. Happy to be able to work with such a great group of guys. Remember, if you want to know more about any of these stories, navigate your browser to CZenStarNews.com and locate the latest This Week in Star Citizen.
This Week in Star Citizen.
CZenStar Teller gave us a number of interesting views this week. More pictures of the grapple attachment, an interrogation scene, a little grisly that, another picture of the boom slang, some medical equipment, and the Moby Glass, as well as some fascinating scenes and size comparisons. Did a lot of work on the Hull series this week. Thank you, Teller.
This Week in Star Citizen.
Congrats to CIG for breaking $80 million in crowdfunding. A segment for this week, The Hull Truth, with a nod to Wes of Romanticore, who used to run a YouTube Star Citizen news shows by that name. We miss you, Wes. Come back to SC. What this segment is about is the interesting approach CIG has done with this Hull series concept sale. There's been a thread on the forums where people submitted questions and daily comm links released with answers. Highlights of things we learned. The Hull B comm link on Tuesday revised all the cargo sizes for all the ships, including the Hull series, a new record for specs being made obsolete in the space of a few days. The Banu Merchantman went from carrying less than a third of a Hull C to slightly more. Freelancer went to well above the Hull A. While smaller cargo boxes are pictured throughout the promotional images, the Hull series will be able to carry any type of container that fits in the space allotted. Spacecraft can be broken down into their component parts for transport, or carried in their complete forms aboard larger hulls. There is also a midget fighter attachment being developed for the Hull E, which will allow it to drop and recover escort fighters in exchange for cargo space. CIG is aware that the spindle looks like the weak point of the Hull series, but is not intended for this to carry into game mechanics. The cargo containers will be fully shielded and will be themselves have an armor value. Those that wish additional protection can use containers that trade armor for space. How can we land the Hull B fully loaded? Very carefully. They're in the process of updating the landing gear design for the Hull B so that it can land with the lower cargo slot filled. That'll be interesting to see. The spindle arms can be unfolded individually depending on the task at hand. Regarding that central strut, they're still working out the details, but it should be large enough to walk through on the Hull D and E, and large enough to crawl through, similar to the Jeffries tubes on Star Trek, on the Hull C. In all of these ships, it will be advantageous for an engineer to be able to reach the drive unit on occasion. The Hull C Discrete, and military variant of the Hull D, is still in the cards for the finished game. It will include specialized containers to support its Q-ship purpose. You can solo even the larger ships. Additional crew members will run the turret, navigation, scanners, repair team, or whatever the captain assigns them through the multi-crew seat system. Tutorial previews. In 1.1.2 PTU build, The tutorials are getting rave reviews, although that is not a barrel roll. CIG staffing. Alyssa Delatole was hired this week, according to Lisa Ohanian. From the official CIG site we see, today we have a new member joining us in the Cloud Imperium, Alyssa Delatole. Alyssa joins us from Activision Publishing, where she worked for 6 iterations of Call of Duty, 4 iterations of Skylanders, and a ton of other games. Alyssa will be our new associate marketing producer in the Santa Monica studio. She will be focused primarily coordinating between the marketing team, devs, and community. Welcome, Alyssa. We got a chance to meet her on RTV. She said she'd soon have a metric F-ton of news to share. When Lisa jumped ship at Activision, Alyssa begged, "Take me with you," and the rest is history. Also off the CIG Facebook, we've got another new hire to announce. Ahmed Al-Sayed will be our new DevOps engineer in the Austin studio. He will be focused primarily on infrastructure automation, provisioning, and configuration management. Welcome, Ahmed, to the CIG team. Off Twitter, we found out about Daniel Benzeno. He tweeted from the set of Squadron 42. The actor has credits from Law & Order UK, Skins, Strike Back. This week in interviews, Meet the Devs animation director Steve Bender. That was a fascinating interview, worth a look. On ATV, John Schimmel, head of linear content, talking about Squadron 42. Dan Tracy on the Hull series, and a new segment, Ship Shape, with Lisa Ohanian. Showed off the P-52 snub fighter that comes with the Constellation, looking very good.
This week in Star Citizen.
Dev posts and comments, what you may have missed. Congrats to the guys with a great matchup with Hitchhiker's Guide and Star Citizen this week as an intro to Around the Verse. From RTV, we found that Bug Smashers is not gone, but will be broken into its own show released on Wednesdays. I think that's a great idea. Todd Pappy is determining what next deep dive design post will be. Interview with John Schimmel, aka Mark Twain, according to Ben, will be coming next week. We'll talk about what it's like to live with Chris Roberts. Reverse the Verse was moved to Friday so they can answer questions about Around the Verse since once everybody's had a chance to watch it. There will be an episode of The Wonderful World of Star Citizen this month. Space toilet paper stays dry at all times. It's actually a sponge. There is no toilet paper in the future. Working on a post about FPS to talk about all the things being done to make FPS cooler. Travis is wrangling the assets, coming early next week. We'll be seeing the Starfarer soon, and that's soon without the TM. And we met Renee Vasquez this week on Reverse the Verse, tech designer working on Pirate Swarm, also soon TM. Also working on Balance. Travis says CIG is working on optimizations of the game state for the hangar, so they don't have to spawn and hide ships below the hangar deck for them to be usable by you in Arena Commander. That was from ATV. He also mentioned that they're working on wingman commands, which is very important. Star map is being worked on. We'll see soonish, according to CIG Austin team. New 1.1.2 build is placed on the PTU Friday, May 1st. New website design is having a few problems with iPad and iPhones, which will be fixed soon, according to Scott at Turbulent. The fan art and fan fiction child forum was split in 2 this week. Squadron 42 motion capture sounds like it's going swimmingly. Chris, John Schimmel, Dave Haddock, and the cinematic director, who I believe that would be Hans Appel, recently of Crytek, all have a place together in the UK. Sounds really crazy, and I'd love to have some cameras in that house. They're treating it as much like a feature film as possible. And that's all the news for CitizenStar this week. Hope to see you next week in Star Citizen. CitizenStarNews.com, where we put the citizens first. Engage with Star Citizen today. Follow the news, both development and in lore, or write your own articles, features, and fiction. We take citizen submissions. There's room on staff, or become a partner. You can let us help develop your brand. CZenStarNews.com, where the citizen is the star, chronicling your stories. The history of the verse is unfolding now, real time. Don't wait until 2946 to be a part of Star Citizen. CZenStarNews.com. Would you like to know more?